now!
Hello peoples, one and all, and welcome to the first edition of what could be We Classy Morons, what could also be our very own thing. Now, today we have this wonderful backstory of a character that was, well, it was once our friend Mr. Duck here, and then it turned into something completely different. This entire story originated from something that happened on a drive home, on a visit from my wonderful friends, and also say hello, Rocker, over to the side.
Hi.
Okay, so she's not currently participating in this. She's merely going to ridicule Mr. Duck whenever he makes strange decisions. Probably is going how things are going to end up.
Oh, yes.
So, as we have seen, his anus was attached to his mouth and began a never-ending loop of digestion that ended up being a ghost, a very tonguey ghost, if that's even a word, getting sucked into our friend Duck here, and then creating this endless loop of insanity, in which he assaulted multiple police officers, found Batman, ended up inside of a Scooby-Doo world, and then got sucked back outside of that after attempting to attach multiple penises to himself. It's a long story, but all you really need to know is he's a Fred that is now attempting to become the hillbilly from Dead by Daylight, if you know what that is.
Plus the doctor.
Yes.
And Fred is shirtless, and just imagine all the Rule 34 porn you've seen.
And I have a chainsaw.
Yes.
Not just
the ultimate vibrator, a chainsaw.
Tried to make... Never mind.
Oh dear. Anyway, so as we've seen so far in the story, Mr. Duck has passed a trial set to him in front of this large mansion in which a professor of an unknown origin, possibly the doctor that we're speaking of, who knows, we'll have to see what I come up with, is going to supposedly give him bulletproof skin is his main goal. So at this point in the story, he's just passed an entrance exam in which he and 20 other Freds from other alternate universes chopped up a bunch of alligators, and the other Freds died heroically to get him out of the alligator pit and thusly advance him further in this trial. So, as we've seen in the past, there's also a possessed body armor of a soldier that tried to get the alligators into the pit. He had a body when he started out, but not so much anymore. We are all eating popsicles, so if you hear any strange noises, that's probably what it is. We are not professionals in any term of the... I'm not sure whether to say I'm happy or sad that this is all audio, because any number of things could be happening right now. So,
it's like a radio show.
This is a radio show. Don't you know this is being broadcast live to millions of people right now?
Hi, Mom. I hope you're proud.
I don't think anybody would be proud of this shit. Okay.
I honestly would not let your mom know about this shit.
Probably not.
Or any of her mothers.
She'd go like, oh no!
It's questionable as to whether yours or mine would be more afflicted.
Mine.
Yes. Still, I question it. Anyway, so last we left off, the faceless and apparently bodiless possessed bodyguard, which he decided whose name is Alligator Knight, which I just now remembered.
Alligator Knight, yeah.
Progressing further with the story.
So I suppose now that you've got the appointment that you wanted, well, the doctor will see you now. Right?
Cool. Wait, where the fuck is Velma? Velma, get the fuck over here.
Velma, who's been creeping around this entire time, you can now see sprinting down the path all the way down to the exit. It appears she wants no part of the multitudinous Freds that have just appeared and then died.
Velma, get the fuck over here!
As you shout this down the path, you see what you think is Velma flipping the bird from a distance, but you can't be sure. She exits the creaky gate and makes a mad dash for the underbrush.
Oh well, Daphne's hotter anyway.
As this very obvious truth comes out, you turn back around to the Alligator Knight, who's merely shaking his head at this entire series of events. As we wait for Mr. Duck to continue choking on his orange popsicle.
Oh. Okay, so, Mr. Alligator Man.
Alligator Knight.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. Mr. Alligator Nighter Man, let's go over to the doctor and make me indestructible so I can kill people.
I mean, it's not that simple. There's a lot of chemistry.
Kill people!
Okay.
He promptly leads you down the hall to this private office, in which looks something like a very torturous waiting room, something crossed with medieval torture methods and a modern doctor's office. It's a very strange amalgamation of the two. However, as you enter, you notice that there is a large array of maces, swords, and other things that are typically Scooby-Doo hanging from the walls in an attempt to make things look a bit more threatening than they actually are. But of course, you haven't met the doctor yet, so that has yet to be seen, whether it's actually threatening.
I wonder if I'm going to meet my new daddy.
I'm not sure if he's into that sort of thing.
Daddy.
Okay. You just wait here. I'll be right back with the doctor, all right?
Oh, hey, by the way, Mr. Alligator Man,
Oh, what?
once I become super powerful, I'm going to wear you like a fucking fur coat.
I don't want to hear
You
that.
will become my armor.
I don't want
You
to
will become my armor. I will wear you around and prance around the city, chopping people in half, and becomes the superhero.
There are certain parts of me I
am
don't
a
want me
superhero.
touching certain parts
My
of you.
penis will touch your penis, and you're going to like it. You're gonna like it.
So much a fan out of this.
As he goes sprinting out of the room crying, or what you think would be crying for a ghost possessing a suit of armor anyway. What in the world is going on with the recording? As he's going sprinting out of the room in search of the doctor, supposedly, you take a quick look at your surroundings. Still very dusty, moldy, and dirty, and a few rats are scurrying out of the wall nearby. This entire place doesn't appear to be very sanitary.
It's just like Z's vagina.
We're gonna... You feel a universal smack land across your forehead from an unknown source that appears to be the person telling this story.
Ow!
Thank you, Rocker. Thank you, Rocker. Anyway, the glorious BDSM that happens during our sessions.
I did not want him tied up to a bed. No.
Anyway, so...
Get the handcuffs and who's gonna suck it?
Oh, dear. As the story progresses before anything else can, the doctor suddenly shows up into the room. It appears that he has a very stereotypical. That's a word now. Very stereotypical mad scientist haircut involving massive male pattern baldness and both sides of whatever hair is remaining sticking up in extreme Albert Einstein fashion. He's also wearing glasses that have swirls on them, supposedly to make him look crazy. You don't really know. As he teeters into the room, he looks at you cockeyedly and puts his head to one side. So you're the one they were talking about. Okay, the muscly, shirtless man. You know ascots went out of fashion years ago, right?
Hey, this is manly.
And so is lots of hair. But I don't see you having a lot of it.
I am a fucking Fred. You will bow down to me. I will become indestructible.
You see, all of that hinges on me helping you. You're not making me want to help you right now.
Okay. What will make you want me help you? Me.
Well, you see, I've got this really long grocery list that you might be able to help me out with. Do you think you could get some things for me in town? I mean, I live all the way up in a giant castle on a cliff top. It's not exactly like an old man like me wants to make the 48-mile walk into town to get groceries.
Okay, how about this? I will get your groceries if you make me extremely powerful.
Okay, I'll make you extremely powerful.
Okay.
If you get me groceries.
Make me a fucking god, and I will kill everybody that stands in my way.
Okay, I'll make you a fucking god. Anyway, so you get me my groceries. I'm sure you can get there quickly by doing a montage or a scene cut or whatever it is you main action heroes do in villains movies. I don't.
Action heroes don't look at explosions. And then I just start lighting stuff on fire.
As you hear massive explosions happening on one side of the castle, you both just stare around the room in a little bit of awe, wondering what is causing those explosions and whether they were perfectly timed or not.
Huh. Well then.
That was a little bit creepy.
Alright, give me that fucking list.
It's actually in the next room. he says, opening the main door to the office and pointing down the hallway. You see what appears to be a small closet that he's pointing to.
Are there hookers in there?
They're coat hangers. If you want those have hooks on them, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Do you pleasure yourself with wire hooks?
I bring them closer and start to go for a whisper. Yes. It's very satisfying. You should try it.
I don't want to try that.
Okay. All right. Give me the list. Cutscene.
You walk over to the closet door and open it up. What spills out is a massive list that fills the entire closet, as a matter of fact. It seems that he hasn't been to the grocery store in a very long time. As you manage to pile the entire grocery list into your arms, you look at the thing that actually touches the ceiling. This is a vaulted ceiling that stands about 20 feet tall, may I tell you. And the entire list fills both your arms and reaches the ceiling in about the same volume. So apparently about maybe 3 feet across and 20 feet wide. So that would be about 60 cubic feet of shopping list. The echoing scream can be heard all the way from outside the castle and into the nearby town, making for a perfect cutscene and transition into you walking into town with a large list in your arms. As you walk down the street with strange looks glaring at you every which way, as people don't seem to be used to a shirtless man with an ascot carrying 60 pounds of shopping list on his shoulders.
And a chainsaw.
And a chainsaw strapped to his back, you attract not a small amount of attention from the locals. As you walk down the street, the cars blowing past and the shopping list and ascot both trailing beautifully behind you, making you look all that much more manly and tangling up in your chainsaw all the way. You wonder whether it's possible to get just a few of these things.
Okay. I'm going to look at the list. What is the... Let's start with the hardest and go... Ooh. Let's start with the hardest and go with the most easy. So what is the most hardest? What is the hardest thing to do on the list?
300 pounds of wool.
God damn it. All right, time to kill some sheep. Not really.
You look around. What you see is a local little seaside shanty town. There isn't much going on here. It's small but serviceable. There are plenty of small fruit shops and other things sitting by the seaside. But other than that, there's nothing more than a few little corner stores. You suppose that out here in the countryside, which is obviously completely overshadowed by the large dark castle on the hill belonging to the doctor, you suppose that there may be some sheep pens or something else nearby that you could find.
All right. I'm a human, right?
Yes.
I only have human things.
But you're a Fred, so you're a good Fred.
I'm a good Fred, and I can break the fourth wall. So I'm going to go ahead and break the fourth wall and grab Death's scythe.
Okay, you manage to glance around and you see 4 various walls around you. The fourth one you see, you break down with your manly Fred strength, throwing the shopping list through it as you do so, possibly just getting rid of the list entirely, who knows. And you manage to see Death humped over in a corner doing the deed with himself. And he looks very surprised to see you break through his fourth wall. As you do so, you notice that his scythe is merely sitting to the side next to him. He's shocked, and if he had a face, it would be staring at you in a little bit of horror and not just a little bit of indignance.
Hi, Death. Well, it was nice meeting you. I'm gonna go ahead and take this from you. Bye.
What do you think you're... Wait, come back here with that.
As you sprint
Someone
up.
draw the fan! Seriously!
You want to see Death jerking off in a corner behind a brick wall. Just remember, these words came out of your mouth. You wanted to see
Do you
that.
realize how much fan I looked at?
Anyway,
I wonder what
thank you,
Death's
Robert.
penis looks like. It's probably all bone.
Do you want me to get on Tumblr and try to find it?
No!
So, as you make off with Death's scythe, you begin to see the shadowy apparition start hobbling after you with his robe around his ankles, trying to get his scythe back.
I said come back here with that. You can't just run off with it. I need that. That is my livelihood. I can't kill people without this.
I kill Death.
You turn around and with one very deft and powerful stroke, cleave through the air in Death's general direction in an attempt to strike him down. Now, let's see if you manage to hit or not. You manage to graze him, taking off the top part of his hooded robe, revealing the inky blackness that is what would be his face underneath.
You're so beautiful.
He lets out a sharp scream and covers up what's left of his head back with what's left of his hood back. As he struggles to maintain composure, you decide to continue on with your previous actions of trying to run away with his scythe.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and keep doing that and close the door so that way he can't get out.
A door materializes from thin air behind you and you close it.
Whee!
And locking it behind you, you see Death struggling to open the door. There's literally nothing else around in this open street but that door, but he's still trying to open it to get to you. It appears that this deception was very well thought out. Congratulations, Duck.
Okay, so is it possible for me to have my own... Is it possible to use a scythe to open up a new dimension and summon the scythe whenever I want to?
Let's see. You cleave through the air at nothing in general, and nothing in general happens.
God damn it. Okay.
You do manage to kill air, though, in the general vicinity.
Sweet, I like killing air.
Not really. You begin to suffocate at a very rapid rate.
Okay, I run away.
All of the air that you just killed is quickly replaced by all the air in the surrounding area, creating a very powerful vacuum that pulls you back to the point of impact. You manage to get thrown to the ground, land on the shopping list, which was pulled back from behind the fourth wall. Gracefully, you land on top of it as if it were a cushion, but now the only thing that's still legible on the list is the 300 pounds of wool. Let's hope he only wanted one thing from that list.
Okay. So I take the list.
Rocker is looking up skeleton porn on Tumblr. Anyway, not safe for work or We Classy Morons. It's actually pretty safe for We Classy Morons. It's typical. Okay. So as you vacuumed the shopping list back to you pretty much, it appears that you now have Death's Scythe of vacuuming. Congratulations.
I like vacuuming shit. Off the ground.
Is this how you clean up after your dog?
Yeah.
Okay. So, as we continue, the only thing that you have on the shopping list is 300 pounds of wool. Now that you are in possession of Death's Scythe and you sucked all the air into one area, I made a pun, you decide to go off in search of these 300 pounds of wool. How do you go about doing so?
Well, I'm going to skip. Well, first, is there a... I'm just going to hold on to the scythe in one hand and just have my chainsaw on my back, just in case if I want to use the chainsaw. It's pretty much my lucky chainsaw from now on. Okay, so I'm just gonna go skipping.
With the chainsaw in your vibrator.
Yes, and the chainsaw is the ultimate vibrator.
His name is Jeffy.
Jeffy is your vibrator?
Jeffy is my vibrator.
I mean, people do name their sex toys.
Buzz and Woody.
My penis.
Andy's mom has the same names for her toys. Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, as you begin skipping off into the countryside, a very strange form of locomotion, but still it's very effective, as you manage to run off into the wilderness and manage to spot a very large sheep. This thing appears to be about the size of, let's say, about 3 school buses stacked on top of each other.
Devil Joe!
This is a very large sheep that is not out of Monster Hunter World, strangely enough. Congratulations.
Okay.
It appears to have all of the wool covering its eyes, or ass. You can't even tell which end is which, really. But it probably has more than enough wool to service.
Okay, so I'm going to not try to kill it because I actually have a newfound love for animals. So I'm just going to take the scythe and I'm going to try to shear it. No. Better yet. I'm going to holster my scythe on my back because I'm awesome and it just sticks to my back because it doesn't need a holster. I take out my chainsaw and I try to shear it with my chainsaw.
As you manage to somehow get the scythe to stick to your back, I believe you licked it like it was a lollipop beforehand and then smacked it to your backside.
Oh.
It is now stuck on your manly Fred back.
Yes.
As it is stuck in place, and it appears that you need a shower after this, probably.
Yes.
The scythe now stuck to your back, you whip out that wonderful chainsaw vibrator Jeffy of yours and begin revving it up and charge toward the sheep. It doesn't appear to be able to hear you, as wool seems to be a very good insulator against both cold and sound.
Yes.
And you make a dramatic swipe at the sheep's back.
Not trying to hurt it. I just want to take the wool off.
You manage to snag into the sheep's wool, and wool is of a much different consistency than you thought it was. Wool, while only one letter away from wood, is not wood, and it completely snarls and gets caught in Jeffy, your vibrator. As it does so, it pulls all of the skin that is attached to on the sheep together, of course, tugging horribly. Even on such a large, thick-skinned animal as this is, it still causes it to roar in pain, and it suddenly becomes a whirlwind of wool spinning around at high speeds. You, however, are still latched on to Jeffy, your vibrator. Jeffy the vibrator, that's a good name for him. Anyway.
Yay!
You are still latched on to Jeffy the vibrator, and he's swinging you around at a very high rate of speed. This is possibly the worst rodeo show I've ever seen in my life. As you begin swirling around, now with the sheep still flinging you about, you ponder as to what you're going to do in this certain circumstance. As the centrifugal force being exuded upon your body is very great, you feel all the blood rushing to your toes and other lower body extremities. Very little of it is going to your head, so you're not thinking too clearly. What do you do?
Basically,
What the hell?
I'm going to stop revving my chainsaw.
Okay. As you do so, some slack manages to give back on the chainsaw, and it ends up swinging you out even further. Now there is even more force being exuded on you, and unless you manage to hold on, you are going to get flung from the beast. You barely manage to cling on by your fingers, but not by much.
Yay! Okay, so I'm going to try to comfort... Well, first I'm going to get on the beast, like climb on it, sit on it, and try to take the wool out of the chainsaw, like unweave it, and try to comfort the beast and say, "Shh, it's okay. I just want your wool."
Which the microphone did probably not pick up, but at the same time, whisper sweet nothings.
"Shh, it's okay. I just want your wool and your fluff and your love."
As you manage to perfectly land squarely on the animal's back, flinging yourself directly up into the air with your manly Fred muscles,
Yes.
you land squarely on the creature's back, right next to its ears, and as you begin caressing it, and other parts of you are caressing it as well, sadly, because of the blood flow alteration, which I told you about,
Yes.
all you can get out is fluff. As there's still blood having to make its way back to your head, and obviously lips and tongue and everything else that causes you to speak. It seems to be calmed by this word, and it seems that this may be the creature's name. It seems to be less intense about the snarl in its wool at the moment, so you can take this time to get your chainsaw out.
Okay, I'm going to attempt to unweave my chainsaw from the wool very, very, very carefully.
With a few pulls and snags along the way, which cause some snorts from the creature, but nothing too violent, you manage to extract your chainsaw from the very hairy apparition that has somehow appeared out in the countryside.
Okay. All right, so I reholster my chainsaw and take out my scythe, and I'm like, "Okay, it's okay, little guy. I'm just going to take some wool off of you, and I'm going to try to shear it with the scythe."
So you switch from your vibrator to your dildo.
It's not a dildo. It's the Grim Reaper's scythe. By the way, where is Death?
Death is still trying to open that door back in town that you made. As it is a fourth wall door, however, it can never be opened except by the person that made it. Death does not appear to know this.
Yay! I like it.
I was just trying to make a joke.
Still,
This is a joke.
it worked.
No.
The bird has been flown. It is the flag. It is the flag of we Classy Morons. Anyway, as you manage to take a swing through the air at the back of this thing with your very sticky back scythe.
Yes.
And now you see why I call it a dildo.
Yes, it's very sticky. You're welcome. So you managed to take off a very large chunk of wool, which sticks to the scythe, may I add, in a very convenient fashion of transporting wool. You shear off a very large amount of the wool and get all the way down to the skin. However, the skin of the creature starts to blacken and it starts to squeal a little bit as you continue to swing at it.
I'm going to stop.
Okay, you take a step back and look at the creature. It appears that whatever Death's scythe is made out of is causing whatever it hits to rot and suddenly turn a deathly black color, including whatever it hits.
Okay. So, apparently, you know what, I have an idea. I have an idea. How about this? I'm just gonna take the sheep and bring it to the castle. I'm gonna ride the sheep to the castle. This will be my Pegasus.
Pegasus, yes. You leap onto the sheep's back, but it does not take you exactly where you want it to go. It appears to be very startled by the sudden feeling as you landed on the shaved part of its back, which also appears to be somewhat necrotic tissue now. In other words, kind of rotting a little bit from the effects of Death's scythe. But as you take off on its leathery skin across the countryside, your view obstructed by what wool remains on the front portion of its back, you finally end up at the beach, which is below the castle. Like, literally directly below it.
Damn it, Fluff. Alright, Fluff. I want you to walk up to that castle up there. And I point up to the castle.
What you see in front of you is a complete arc of rocks. Essentially, the castle itself is placed on an overhang directly above the beach that you're on. It curves up on the beach pretty much in an entire crescent shape directly over the top of you. You are asking the animal to climb a negative degree slope for all practical purposes. You're asking it to walk upside down on the bottom of a cliff.
Yes.
And then somehow climb all the way back around to the top.
Yes.
Sheeps can't fly, dearie.
Sheeps.
You know what? I'm going to break the fourth wall again.
Okay. You look around for 4 more walls. You find one.
I am going to break that wall and hopefully get this sheep some wings and a healing potion to make sure that it heals up because I don't want it to get hurt.
You managed to find both of these things behind fourth wall number 1. And here behind fourth wall number 1 we have sheep wings.
Wouldn't it be
Thanks,
fourth
DM.
wall number 2?
Behind fourth wall number 2. Very astute observation person who doesn't exist in this world.
Thanks,
Congratulations. Yes.
What about fourth wall number 4?
We're not there yet.
That's essentially 4 times 4, which is 16. So it's the 16th fourth wall.
16 walls. Deadpool!
Oh, shit. So,
Copyright infringement.
yes, basically.
Yes.
It's the pool that's dead. Stuff was dying in a pool earlier.
Yes.
Anyway, as we continue talking about fourth walls, and the fourth wall is being broken even more sheep wings suddenly start to pool through from that dimension of the wall that you just broke. You now ride out on your sheep with multiple wings. Now, it appears that they adhere upon contact with sheep. Now, about 27 wings are stuck to its ankles, back, wool, and various other places. One appears to have made its way onto its eyeball, and it doesn't appear to be very happy about it. However, you start flying upwards at a very high rate of speed, trailing a bunch of health potions that seemingly got caught onto its hoof as you were flying upwards.
Yay! Okay, Fluff. We are going to go to that castle and deliver your wool to that person, and hopefully he can shear you without killing you.
As you say, killing you, you feel a sudden pressure arise from the top of your head, and your manly Fred head is smacked face first directly into the bottom side of the cliff. It appears that you rose directly upwards, and as I previously stated, the house is directly above you, sitting on top of that cliff. You've just made perfectly 10 out of 10 contact with the bottom of a sheer rock cliff, which Fluff has now pressed you directly into. It's not very comfortable.
Fluff,
At
stop!
all.
Fluff, Fluffy! Fluffy!
Fluff, running out of control with all of the wings seemingly on its ankles, of course, isn't able to fly very well. The only stabilizer it appears to have is the one attached to its left eyeball, which is flapping vigorously, may I add. It honestly looks like a trans stripper's fake eyelashes stuck into the front of its eyeball. As this massive fluttering is happening, the beak starts corkscrewing through the air back down towards the ocean at a very high rate of speed.
Up, go up without actually slamming me into the thing. I don't want to feel pain.
What is directly above Fluff right now is the ocean, as he's nearly completely upside down and you're hanging on for dear life from him. What is your choice of action?
Go backwards!
Backwards now is directly toward the beach. He complies, but as he is now completely upside down, his backwards is not exactly what you want. You begin flying at a very high rate of speed toward the beachhead.
Fly towards the castle and actually land us on top of the cliff without hurting us.
Somehow you begin flying upside down, directly up toward the house. It appears these wings listen to you pretty well, but they're not very good at following directions.
Thanks, wings, you're wingy.
As you ride Fluffy the Wingy directly back up toward the castle.
Fluffy!
As you ride it directly back up toward the castle, you notice that your trajectory is a bit off, but you land perfectly, a 4-hoof landing directly on top of the castle's roof. It appears, however, it was not meant for a 2-ton sheep. And the roof immediately collapses under the weight. And you perfectly land on all fours directly in the dining hall, where the doctor is having his dinner.
I got the wool, Doc!
Okay. This was not the way that... You landed in my soup.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
That's what you get for asking a dumbass to go get your groceries.
where are the rest of the groceries?
That was the only one that I could find, but Death, I found Death, and he stole my grocery list.
Death stole your grocery list.
I show him my scythe.
I think we may have a bit of a problem here, because in order for things to die, Death has to kill them.
Oh.
You suddenly notice that your skin is getting much thicker, as is the doctor's.
Huh.
Another thing, in order for cells to die, Death has to kill them too. He literally has to kill everything that dies, including dead hair cells, skin cells, everything else in the world. So if you take away his scythe, he literally can't kill anything at all.
I run back to the fourth wall, number 1, and open the door and give Death his scythe back and say.
You give Scythe his death back, okay.
And say, hey Death, can you get me one of those? Because that's actually fairly fun to use.
Where did you're the one that took off with this in the first place. Why do you even have this? Why did you need it? What did you do with it?
I was trying to shear a sheep.
With my scythe.
It didn't work.
He swings it above his head and tears through his hole to his back to his dimension.
Wait, where can I get one of those?
Your mom's house.
He shouts, closing the portal behind him. You notice your skin suddenly starts to peel very badly as he gets back to work at killing the dead skin cells.
Okay, I go back to the house.
You attempt to take one step and fall flat on your face. Apparently, right now you are one big callus because of all the dead skin cells that suddenly appeared on your body.
Fluffy!
Your lips now so swollen with dead skin that you can barely speak. You look like a giant wax candle statue stuck there lying in the middle of the road. Thankfully, or not thankfully, at that one moment, a car directly smacks into you as the driver inside is also afflicted with the same problem that you have. Multiple camera newsmen and anchors all over the world are reporting through very chapped and completely debilitated lips, I might add, from dead skin cells.
The people all over the world are suffering from a sudden expulsion of dead skin. We are trying to rectify the situation.
If any of you manage to get free, please help anyone else that may be affected by it.
As you manage to hear one of these television news reports blare from across the street at one of the local TV shops, or rather electronic shops, I should say, you manage to right yourself. The impact of the car having knocked all the dead skin off your body, you feel a little bit better and more Fred-like now.
Thank you.
You say to the now burning car, which has crashed into a lamppost nearby, because the occupant apparently did not make it out of that alive.
Oh wait, they're dead?
Yes.
Oh man.
Yay, Dad!
Yes, he's doing his job now. No thanks to you. Anyway,
Yeah.
so you take stock of your surroundings. What's your next choice?
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the castle.
Okay, as you make your way back to the castle, you end up, well, what the fuck? Suddenly a plot hole arises as you realize that by breaking the fourth wall again, you teleported back into the streets. So originally you were in the castle. This is merely an oversight on my part because I am a horrible storyteller. Because you somehow teleported into the streets. Now the castle and the streets have suddenly become one thing, and there's no longer any cliff face. It's just one large loop that runs back around from the top of the castle to the side of the street, which runs down into the town and back up into the castle again. You have now created a donut in time and space by breaking the fourth wall.
Wibbly wobbly timey-wimey stuff.
Infinity War.
Shut up.
Penis. Anyway, as this story progresses and you realize you've made a small loop in the time-space continuum, you take stock of your surroundings. The doctor now does not appear to be too incredibly infatuated with the idea of having a street in the middle of his dining room, but other than this fact, things seem to be pretty normal.
All right, doctor, I did good. Now give me my bulletproof skin.
What did you even do? Is that a car? Is that a dead body in the car? Why is that in my life? What did you even do? Okay, who are you, first of all?
I am a Fred. I am from an alternate universe called From the Freds.
There are millions of Freds in the universe.
Yes.
Which one are you?
Fred.
Which Fred?
Fred.
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 Your name is Fred.
Yeah, and that's Fluffy. I point over to Fluffy.
Oh, I've heard of the legendary Weenie Fluffy. Anyway, it's common knowledge amongst all those who can break the fourth wall. Even I myself can do that, but it requires a special machine to do so.
I don't have it, but I can do it.
I think I may be able to get you to break that fourth wall in order to get yourself what you need. You said you wanted bulletproof skin, right?
Basically, I want to be the hillbilly mixed with the doctor.
Okay, let me suddenly break the fourth wall here real quick. He pulls what appears to be a fourth wall gun out of his pocket and fires it and suddenly blasts through an invisible wall that was not there 2 seconds ago.
Ew.
This one breaks through into a dimension and you see a young black lady with tattered hair and in blood-stained clothes suddenly sprint through it, all of a sudden getting cleaved in half by a chainsaw from a very deformed and amalgamated individual that runs through and all the while is making gurgling noises.
I run up to the hillbilly and say, I get down on my knees and say, Billy, you are my hero. And I show him my chainsaw and say, see, I follow you. I follow you. You are my hero.
That sounds like a good way to die.
At the sudden appearance of this ascot-wearing young man wielding a chainsaw, the hillbilly glances down at you with a very dull expression on his face, duller than normal, which is saying something for the hillbilly. But he takes stock of his surroundings, looks at the doctor, looks back down at you, looks across at Fluffy, Wingy the Fluffy, and looks back at you, and smacks you over the head with a sledgehammer.
Damn it.
So you were dealt a significant portion of damage from this, and your head and ears ringing both and bleeding profusely from said ears. You look up just in time to see him chasing the doctor around the table with a chainsaw. It appears he thinks it is one large pallet as he begins to suddenly saw it in half. However, it's not a normal pallet and it quickly gets stuck in between it, and he begins to chase the doctor around with just the sledgehammer. The doctor screaming all the while and your ears still ringing and the street now stuck in the middle of the dining room. It appears that you've made quite a mess of things.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chainsaw the hillbilly and cut his arm off. Or at least attempt to.
You chainsaw towards the hillbilly, attempting to do something to him at the very least. stuttering as you stand and chasing after him with a very muffled war cry due to the fact that you are very discombobulated from being hit over the head by a sledgehammer. Yes, Jeffy's screaming. Literally at the top of his lungs because he doesn't like this killer. You manage to grind directly into the hillbilly's arm, but it slows down and grinds to a halt as his tough skin completely stops it.
Damn it.
My mind in another place.
Yes. So, Mr. Duck, Fred, now what is your choice?
I'm going to climb on the hillbilly and act like a cape.
Are you sure that's what you want to do?
As you begin to fling and flap rapidly from his back as he turns around, trying to see what the hell just got attached to his backside, he begins to twirl around in a very rapid fashion, turning you into something of a rag doll on his back as you're flapping patriotically in the wind. What a good cape you are.
I yell to the doctor, "Doctor, get some sedatives! We need to get him down!"
The doctor is currently nowhere in sight, and it appears that it's just you with the hillbilly. Once again, he's staring at you indolently like, why the fuck are you riding me? So, as you are riding the hillbilly, like a hillbilly,
Yes.
with your vibrator stuck in his arm,
Oh.
and Jeffy still moaning pitifully, this suddenly turned into a very muddy fanfic. And that, I think, on that cliffhanger with you riding the hillbilly is where we should end this session for now.
Okay.
So, as always, until video number next, stay classy, you morons.